The Skaarn moved through the corridor with liquid silence, 8 feet of segmented armor and predatory grace. His species had hunted across 100 worlds, had never failed a contract, had made fear itself into currency. The target was 5 corridors away, one small Valorian scientist whose discovery had made her the most valuable kill in Federation space. Lieutenant Vex ran her security sweep with practiced efficiency, rifle slung across her chest, eyes scanning for the anomalies her instincts whispered about. She was alone, a mistake she would recognize in approximately 7 seconds when the Skaarn rounded the corner, and his clawed hand took 3 fingers from her left hand before she could raise her weapon. 3 weeks earlier, Dr. Lysa Corvaith sat in a laboratory that smelled of recycled air and the particular staleness of a space station at 3:47 a.m. Her violet eyes, oversized even for a Valorian, reflected data that should not exist. She was 4 feet of delicate bone structure, an intellect sharp enough to cut through 3 layers of military-grade encryption. Her mentor, Dr. Teverin, had taught her that scientific truth was not negotiable. He had died defending research that contradicted a colonial governor's economic projections. They had called it an accident. Lysa had been 17, brilliant, and newly aware that institutions could lie. Now, at 29, she stared at genetic sequences that proved the institutions had learned to lie far better than she had imagined. The Ravagers, extinct for 4 centuries, apex predators that had required a coalition of 50 species and the scorching of 12 worlds to eliminate. 10 feet tall, 6-limbed armored plates that laughed at energy weapons, intelligence that made them hunt in coordinated packs, reproduction rates that had turned containment into a joke told by dying civilizations. Yet here were breeding programs, enhancement logs, neural control schematics, authorization codes from Director Zethi's Voruum, 3 council members, and contractors whose names appeared in connection with weapons development across the frontier. Lysa's hands trembled as she followed the data deeper. Facility locations on 4 frontier worlds, production timelines, deployment schedules, and finally the purpose, Enforcement Protocol Omega. The Ravagers would be unleashed on colony worlds that questioned Federation authority, biological terror that could be deployed and withdrawn at will, making descent literally fatal. Her mind, trained in pattern recognition and systematic analysis, understood immediately what she was seeing. This was not security. This was genocide as governance. This was power so absolute it could resurrect extinction itself. She needed to report it, but her mentor's death had taught her about institutional loyalty. She thought about Council Member Haleth, a Valorian like herself, known for integrity that seemed genuine. She composed an encrypted message, attached a summary, requested an urgent meeting. The response arrived in 7 minutes, not from Haleth, from station security. Dr. Corvaith, you are under arrest for unauthorized access to classified materials and suspected bioterrorism. Remain at your workstation. They had been watching. They had known the moment her credentials touched files she was never meant to see. Lysa had perhaps 90 seconds before security reached her lab. Her scientific mind shifted modes, applying problem-solving methodology to survival. She grabbed a data chip, initiated download, watched the transfer bar crawl with agonizing slowness while her heart hammered in her chest. Footsteps, heavy boots, 6 guards minimum, 78 seconds. The download completed. Lysa ran for maintenance access, her small frame squeezing through gaps the guards could not follow. Behind her, the lab door exploded inward. Someone shouted for her to stop, to show her hands, to comply. She did not comply. She ran through maintenance shafts she had mapped during 2 years of careful work, reached Docking Bay 7, chose the smallest scout vessel her credentials could access. The ship's AI activated with cheerful obedience. She overrode safety protocols, demanded immediate launch, and felt acceleration crush her into the pilot's seat as the vessel screamed through the atmospheric shield into open space. Behind her, alarms wailed. Ahead, the stars offered no promises. 24 hours later, her face appeared on every enforcement network in Federation space. Dr. Lysa Corvaith, Wanted for theft of bioweapon materials and crimes against Federation security. Kill on sight. Reward 500,000 Federation credits. Kill on sight. They did not want her alive for trial. They wanted her silent. Lysa jumped through 7 systems over 3 weeks. Each time she thought she had lost her pursuers. Each time they found her within hours. The Federation's tracking network was too vast, too interconnected. Every sensor, every patrol ship, every station fed data into systems designed to make escape impossible. Her scout ship was failing. Hull breaches from a near miss with bounty hunters. Life support at 60% efficiency. The jump drive overheating from constant use without proper maintenance cycles. Her right arm was wrapped in emergency medical gel, covering an energy weapon burn that went to the bone. She sat in her pilot's chair, staring at the navigation display, and accepted that she was out of options. Every inhabited system was part of the Federation. Every station, every colony, every world had enforcement teams looking for her, except one. Earth appeared on her star chart wrapped in warning beacons. Dangerous species, approach prohibited, contact forbidden. Lysa knew the story every Federation citizen learned. 50 years ago, humanity had been discovered, a technological species confined to a single system but showing promise. First contact had gone catastrophically wrong. The human fight-or-flight response was far more extreme than Federation species had encountered. When diplomats approached quickly to demonstrate friendship, humans interpreted it as an attack. 6 diplomats died before the misunderstanding was resolved. The Federation had debated humanity's fate. Some wanted quarantine. Others wanted forced integration, civilizing their violent instincts. Humanity had made the choice themselves. They withdrew from contact, established a defensive perimeter, and made clear that unauthorized ships entering their space would be destroyed. The Federation had been happy to let them isolate themselves. Humans were too dangerous, too volatile. Better to let them stay on their death world. Now that death world was Lysa's only hope. She plotted the course with shaking hands. It would consume her remaining jump drive capacity and leave no margin for error. If Earth's defenses fired on her, she would not be able to escape. But if they did not, maybe the one species too dangerous for the Federation would understand what it meant to be hunted by it. Lysa initiated the jump. The transition took 14 hours. When her ship dropped back into normal space, alarms screamed warnings. Multiple targeting locks. Weapons tracking. She was painted by at least 30 different sensor arrays. A voice crackled through her communication system. Male, calm, speaking accented but clear Federation standard. Unknown vessel, you have entered Earth defensive space. Identify yourself immediately or you will be destroyed. You have 30 seconds to comply. Lysa's voice cracked when she spoke. My name is Dr. Lysa Corvaith. I'm a xenobiologist from the Valorian Republic. I'm requesting asylum. The Federation is trying to kill me. Please, I have nowhere else to go. Silence stretched. 10 seconds, 20 seconds. Dr. Corvaith, maintain your current trajectory. Do not deviate. Do not activate any systems beyond basic life support. A patrol ship will intercept you in 40 minutes. If you make any threatening moves, you will be eliminated. Do you understand? Yes, thank you, I understand. The targeting locks remained active. Humanity was watching her with weapons trained, but they had not fired. That was more mercy than she had expected. Her ship was dying. The jump had pushed it beyond its limits. When the Earth patrol vessel appeared, sleek and angular and bristling with weapons, her engines were failing. The patrol ship locked on with a tractor beam and began towing her toward the planet. Lysa caught her first glimpse of Earth through her viewport. Blue and green and white, wrapped in swirling clouds. It looked almost peaceful, beautiful even. Not like a world that housed a species considered too dangerous for civilization. Her ship began to shake. She realized with cold horror that she was losing structural integrity. The damage from weeks of flight, the stress of the final jump, it was all coming apart. Human ship, I'm breaking up. I can't maintain. The patrol vessel's response was immediate. The tractor beam intensified, but her scout ship was already fracturing. Hull plates peeled away. Her cockpit breached with explosive decompression that would have killed her if she had not been strapped in and wearing her emergency suit. She watched through her faceplate as her ship disintegrated around her. leaving her floating in vacuum, suspended by the tractor beam alone. The patrol ship adjusted, extending a mechanical arm that grabbed her with surprising gentleness. A docking port opened. Lysa was pulled inside. She collapsed on the deck, her suit's oxygen supply nearly exhausted, her wounded arm screaming with pain. Human faces appeared above her. They wore armored suits, helmets retracted, and their expressions were unreadable. One knelt beside her, checking her vital signs with a handheld scanner. "She's in bad shape," the human said. "Burns, malnutrition, oxygen deprivation. Get her to medical." Lysa tried to speak, but darkness swallowed her. She woke in a white room filled with unfamiliar equipment. Her arm was bandaged, the pain reduced to a dull ache. She was in a medical bed, sensors attached to her chest monitoring her vitals. A human stood nearby, reviewing data on a holographic display. He noticed her stirring and approached. He was middle-aged by human standards, with graying hair and sharp eyes that assessed her with clinical precision. "Dr. Corvaith, I'm Dr. Aldrich Crane. You're in a medical facility in New Geneva, Earth's primary spaceport. You've been unconscious for 18 hours. How do you feel?" Lysa's throat was dry. "Like I died and came back." Crane's expression softened slightly. "Close enough. You had significant radiation exposure from your failing ship, second-degree burns, and you were about 10 minutes from permanent neurological damage from oxygen deprivation. But you're stable now. You'll recover." "Why am I alive?" Lysa asked. "The Federation says I'm a terrorist, that I stole bioweapons. You should have." "We don't kill people based on what others say about them," Crane interrupted. "You asked for asylum, that means something to us, but you need to explain what's happening. Admiral Kovran wants to speak with you today." They moved her 2 hours later. She was still weak, but she could walk with assistance. Human guards, she noticed, never showed her their backs, never let their attention waver. They escorted her through corridors that were both familiar and alien. The technology was human-designed, different from Federation standard, cruder in some ways, more robust in others. She was brought to a conference room. Waiting inside were 2 men who radiated authority in different ways. The first was tall, broad-shouldered, with iron-gray hair and a face that looked carved from stone. He wore a military uniform, dark blue with minimal decorations. His eyes were the kind that had seen combat and made decisions that cost lives. Admiral Thace Kovran, Earth's defense coordinator. Kovran had been a junior officer 50 years ago during the first contact disaster. He had watched diplomats die in a cascade of misunderstanding, had seen humanity's violent reflexes paint Earth as barbaric in Federation eyes. He carried that memory like scar tissue, a reminder that first impressions could define species for generations. His daughter was a xenobiologist, 27 years old, brilliant and idealistic in ways that reminded him uncomfortably of the small alien scientist sitting across from him now. The second man was younger, perhaps in his late 30s, with the lean, dangerous look of someone who spent his life in combat zones. His uniform bore insignia that suggested special operations. Captain Drell Axisar, head of Earth's Special Response Division. Axisar had been an intelligence operative who had questioned orders during a black operations mission that targeted civilians. He had been court-martialed, then quietly reinstated when his assessment proved correct and the mission became a political disaster. He recognized the look in Lysa's eyes. He had worn that same expression when he had chosen principle over obedience. Kovran gestured to a chair. "Sit, Dr. Corvaith. You look like you're about to fall over." Lysa sat gratefully. "Thank you for not killing me." "We don't kill people who ask for help," Kovran said flatly. "But we need to understand what we're dealing with. The Federation has issued a galaxy-wide kill order for you. They claim you're a bioterrorist who stole genetic material for extinct predators. That's not the kind of thing we take lightly." Lysa reached into her suit, slowly, careful not to alarm the guards, and pulled out the data chip. "Everything I found is on this. The Federation isn't hunting me because I stole anything. They're hunting me because I discovered what they're doing." She explained it all: the hidden files, the Ravager reconstruction program, the conspiracy reaching into the highest levels of Federation government, the plan to use biological terror as an enforcement tool. Axisar took the data chip and inserted it into a reader. His expression darkened as he reviewed the files. These authorization codes are legitimate. This is real. Kovran's jaw tightened. Why come to Earth? Why not go to another Federation species? Someone with the power to expose this. Because they're all compromised, Lysa said. The conspiracy controls the enforcement networks, the communication systems. Anyone I contacted was either part of it or reported me to someone who was. I've been running for 3 weeks. Every system I entered, they found me within hours. Earth is the only place outside their reach. We're outside their reach because we told them to stay away from us, Kovran said. We don't involve ourselves in Federation politics. We learned that lesson 50 years ago. I know, Lysa whispered. I'm not asking you to fight my battles. I'm just asking you not to hand me over to the people trying to kill me. If you want to ignore the evidence and let the Federation do whatever they want with Ravagers, that's your choice. But please, don't send me back to die. Axisar looked at Kovran. Something passed between them, an understanding born from years of working together. She came here for asylum, Axisar said quietly. That means something. Kovran was silent for a long moment. Lysa could see the calculation in his eyes, weighing risks and principles. He thought about his daughter, about the kind of galaxy he wanted her to live in, about whether humanity's isolation had made them cowards or given them the distance to see clearly. Finally, he nodded. Fine. You're under Earth's protection. Anyone coming for you comes through us first. Lysa felt tears sting her eyes. You barely know me, why would you? Because that's what asylum means, Kovran said. It's a promise. You ask for protection, we give it. That's how it works. It's been that way for thousands of years in human culture. We don't break that promise. He stood and the meeting was clearly over. Get some rest, Dr. Corvaith. We'll find you quarters, safe ones, and we'll analyze this data. If it's as bad as you say, we'll figure out what to do about it. Lysa was assigned quarters in a secure section of the military complex. The room was small but comfortable, far better than her cramped scout ship. For the first time in weeks, she slept without nightmares of being caught. She woke 14 hours later to the sound of alarms. Axisar appeared at her door, fully armored, weapon in hand. Stay in your quarters. Lock the door. Don't open it for anyone but me or Admiral Kovran. Understand? What's happening? Assassins. 3 teams breached our orbital defenses 20 minutes ago. They're coming for you. Now, in the present moment, Lieutenant Vex stared at the Skaarn hunter who had just taken 3 of her fingers. Pain screamed through her nervous system, but her combat training overrode it. She rolled backward, hit an emergency wall panel. Blast doors slammed shut between them. The Skaarn punched through the reinforced door, his strength formidable, his species engineered for exactly this kind of work. But those 3 seconds let Vex reach a maintenance locker. She grabbed a plasma torch, not a weapon, a tool for cutting through damaged ship hulls. The Skaarn came through the shattered door, moving with predatory confidence. Vex was backing away, bleeding, clearly outmatched. The Skaarn had killed 17 targets in his career, had never failed a contract, had made his reputation on impossible kills. Vex threw the plasma torch, not at the Skaarn but at the fire suppression system above him. The torch pierced the system, triggering it. Chemical suppressant flooded the corridor. The Skaarn was momentarily blinded, disoriented. His sensory organs were designed for tracking prey across light years but were vulnerable to chemical interference. Vex used those seconds to get behind him to reach another door to seal it. The Skaarn followed, enraged now. Angry enemies made mistakes. Vex had learned that in combat training on Titan, where instructors taught you to provoke opponents into tactical errors. She led him through a specific route, past maintenance areas, through crew quarters. The Skaarn was faster, but she knew the facility. She had walked these corridors for 3 years, had memorized every intersection, every emergency system, every structural weakness. Finally, she reached the room she wanted, a cargo airlock. She dove through, rolled, came up, hitting the emergency vent control. The outer door blew open. Atmospheric pressure exploded outward. The Skaarn, caught mid-stride, was yanked toward the void. He managed to grab a support beam, his incredible strength keeping him anchored. Vex, already braced and holding an emergency handle, aimed her backup pistol, retrieved during her flight, and shot the support beam. Once, twice, 3 times. The beam sheared. The Skaarn tumbled into space, his armored body spinning away into the black. Vex hit the door control, sealing the airlock. She collapsed, noticing for the first time that 3 fingers on her left hand were missing, severed cleanly by that first strike. She applied a tourniquet to her own hand with her teeth and remaining fingers, her vision narrowing from blood loss and shock. Axisar found her there 2 minutes later. "Target eliminated," she reported. "Sir." Axisar helped her stand. "That was the stupidest, bravest thing I've seen in years. Seemed like the thing to do at the time, sir." The first assassination team had hit the medical facility where Lysa had recovered. They were Verak, a species engineered centuries ago for stealth and combat. 6 feet tall, covered in mottled skin that shifted colors to match their surroundings. Their natural claws could tear through most armor. They killed 2 human guards before Axisar's team responded. The humans came through doorways with coordinated precision, weapons firing in controlled bursts. The Verak had expected easy targets, soft Federation species that would panic under assault. Instead, they found humans who fought with a ferocity that made the Verak reassess their intelligence briefings in the 3 seconds before they died. The battle lasted 4 minutes. All 6 Verak died. 3 humans were wounded, none fatally. The second assassination attempt was more sophisticated. A sniper positioned 3 kilometers away, on a building overlooking the military complex. The sniper was Thales, a species known for enhanced vision and steady aim. He used a Federation military energy rifle, capable of precision shots at extreme range. He waited until he had visual confirmation. Dr. Corvaith, visible through a window in her quarters. He took the shot. Perfect center mass. The figure in the window exploded, revealing itself as a hologram. The real Lysa was in a bunker 2 levels underground. Human counter-sniper teams had triangulated his position before he could relocate. They had been watching for this exact scenario. Earth's military doctrine, refined through centuries of humans fighting humans, understood assassination tactics with intimate familiarity. The Thales sniper took return fire from 3 positions simultaneously. He died without getting off a second shot. 3 assassination teams, 3 failures. Kovran convened a meeting with Earth's Security Council. The message from the Federation was clear. They would violate Earth's sovereignty to kill Lysa. "This is an act of war," one council member said. "They've killed our people on our soil," Kovran nodded. "It is, and we need to respond, but we need to be smart about it. We're one system against the entire Federation." Axisar spoke up. "They'll send more, probably a fleet, demanding we hand over Dr. Corvaith. When they do, we show them what happens when they cross our borders." "What are you proposing?" Kovran asked. "They'll come with force. When they do, we demonstrate why isolation was their idea, not ours." In a secure facility 3 systems away, Director Zethai's Voruum reviewed the assassination failure reports with dermal chromatophores flashing frustration red. He was Calarian, tall and thin, a species known for administrative competence and long-term strategic planning. He had spent 15 years building the Ravager program, had secured authorization from council members who understood that power required tools, had convinced contractors that biological warfare was the future of enforcement. One small scientist had discovered it all, and now she was protected by the one species Voruum could not directly threaten through normal channels. But Voruum had contingencies. He always had contingencies. He composed a message to High Captain Talric Sane, commander of a Federation patrol fleet currently in nearby space. The message was carefully worded, emphasizing Earth's harboring of a bioterrorist, downplaying their defensive capabilities, suggesting that a show of force would result in immediate compliance. Voruum did not mention that he expected Earth to resist. He did not mention that he wanted them to resist. He did not mention the 200-ship armada he had positioned in a nearby system, ready to jump in after Earth proved its aggressive nature by destroying Sane's smaller force. If Earth destroyed Sane's fleet, Voruum would have justification for a full invasion, and in the chaos of invasion Dr. Corvaith would die. Accidentally, of course. Regrettably, but permanently. Voruum sent the message and waited. The fleet arrived 3 days later, 12 ships positioned in blockade formation around Earth's orbital space. High Captain Talric Sane was a career officer, competent and proud, commanding vessels that represented the Federation's technological superiority. He broadcast his demand with the confidence of someone who had never faced real opposition. Earth Defense Forces, you are harboring a wanted criminal. Dr. Lysa Corvaith is to be surrendered to Federation custody immediately. Failure to comply will be considered an act of hostility against the Galactic Federation. You have 24 hours. Kovran's response was broadcast on all channels. High Captain Sane, Dr. Corvaith has been granted asylum under Earth law. 3 of your assassination teams violated our sovereignty and killed our citizens. We consider those acts of war. You have 1 hour to leave our system. After that, you're hostile combatants. Choose wisely. Sane's laughter came through the channel. Admiral, you're commanding the defense of a single planet against 12 Federation warships. Your position is absurd. Stand down. 58 minutes, Kovran replied and cut the channel. Aboard the Federation flagship, Sane conferred with his tactical officer. They're bluffing, they have to be. Intelligence reports show Earth has maybe 30 combat-capable vessels. We have 12 of the most advanced warships in the Federation. His tactical officer looked uncertain. Sir, there are gaps in our intelligence. We haven't had direct observation of Earth's military for 50 years. They could have. They're isolated, primitive. One planet's resources against the entire Federation's technology. This is intimidation, nothing more. What Sane did not know was that his intelligence was accurate but incomplete. Earth did have 30 combat-capable vessels. What the intelligence failed to account for was that humans did not fight the way other species fought. The hour expired. Earth's response was immediate and devastating. Hidden installations across the moon and the asteroid belt activated. Railgun platforms that had been dormant, disguised as mining equipment or debris, came online. They fired projectiles at significant fractions of light speed, kinetic kill vehicles that delivered devastating energy on impact. 3 Federation ships were hit in the first 10 seconds. Their shields, designed to stop energy weapons, were less effective against physical projectiles moving at relativistic speeds. The ships buckled, armor cratering, internal systems failing. Missile swarms launched from concealed positions. Each missile had multi-stage drives, allowing them to accelerate, coast, then accelerate again, making them nearly impossible to track. They swarmed the Federation ships in hundreds, overwhelming point defense systems. 2 more ships went critical, their reactors breaching, secondary explosions tearing them apart. The Federation fleet tried to return fire, but they could not locate the human weapons platforms. The humans had dispersed their defenses across millions of kilometers. There was no single target to strike. And then the cyber warfare began. Human hackers, trained in 50 years of competition against each other, penetrated Federation ship networks with alarming speed. They did not try subtle infiltration. They launched overwhelming attacks that crashed systems faster than crews could restore them. The Federation networks were designed for efficiency and integration. Every system connected to every other system for optimal coordination. The humans exploited this. They did not try to control the networks, they simply broke them. 3 Federation ships lost navigation, weapons, life support. They went dark, drifting. High Captain Sane watched his fleet being dismantled with growing horror. This was not how warfare was supposed to work. This was not the methodical exchange of fire between comparable forces. This was slaughter. All ships, emergency jump. Get out of the system. 4 ships managed to engage their jump drives. 1 escaped. 3 others were hit by railgun fire during their jump calculations and emerged in normal space as expanding debris fields. Of the 12 ships that had arrived, 8 were destroyed. 3 were crippled, drifting in Earth's orbital space. 1 fled with catastrophic damage. The entire battle lasted 14 minutes. Human boarding teams took control of the 3 disabled ships. They found the crews attempting to destroy their ship's data cores. The humans stopped them, efficiently, professionally. They took prisoners, secured the ships, and began extracting every piece of intelligence they could find. Sane was among the captured. He sat in a holding cell, still in shock, as Kovran reviewed the interrogation reports. He says Director Voruum promised this would be easy, Axisar reported. That humans were disorganized, technologically inferior, that we'd surrender rather than face Federation authority. Kovran's expression was grim. Did he understand that he was being used? That Voruum wanted Dr. Corvaith dead badly enough to sacrifice an entire fleet. I don't think he understands anything right now. He thought he was on a routine intimidation mission. Kovran made a decision. Release the battle footage, all of it, every angle, every recording. Broadcast it across all Federation channels we can reach, and include Sane's interrogation. Let every species in the Federation see what happens when they threaten Earth. In a command center 3 systems away, the commander of Voruum's backup armada watched the battle footage with growing alarm. He was an experienced officer, not a political appointee, and he understood tactics. He watched Earth's distributed defense network, their unconventional weapons, their cyber warfare capabilities, and he did the mathematics. His 200 ships would not be enough. Not against an enemy that fought like this. Not against a species that had spent 50 years preparing for exactly this scenario. When Voruum's order came to jump in and finish what Sane had started, the commander refused. Sir, with respect, Earth's defensive capabilities are far beyond our intelligence estimates. An attack now would result in catastrophic losses for minimal gain. I cannot in good conscience order my ships into that engagement. Voruum's response was furious, threatening court-martial, demanding obedience. The commander cut the channel and began repositioning his fleet away from Earth space. He would face court-martial, but he would not sacrifice 200 ships and their crews for a director's pride. The footage spread across the galaxy within hours. Federation citizens watched in stunned silence as 12 warships were systematically destroyed by a species they had been told was primitive and isolated. Kovran recorded a message to accompany the footage. The Federation was told we were weak. You were lied to. Earth does not seek conflict with anyone, but we honor our commitments. Dr. Corvaith asked for asylum. She has it. Anyone else fleeing Federation persecution, our door is open. We protect those who need protection, and anyone who tries to harm them will face the same fate as this fleet. The message resonated across the Federation, not just with governments, but with ordinary citizens who began asking questions about what their leaders had been doing in secret. With the immediate military threat neutralized, Lysa finally had time to breathe. She worked with human intelligence analysts to decrypt and analyze the complete conspiracy files. The evidence was overwhelming, but releasing it through normal channels would be impossible. The conspirators controlled too much of the Federation's infrastructure. Lysa sat with Kovran and Axisar in a secure briefing room, reviewing options. We need to make sure everyone sees the evidence simultaneously, she said. No way to suppress it. Human cyber warfare specialists had been studying Federation communications networks for 50 years. They had mapped the infrastructure, identified vulnerabilities, and prepared tools for exactly this kind of operation. But Lysa knew something they did not. She knew the protocols, the authentication systems, the network architecture from the inside. She had spent 6 years working across Federation facilities, had maintained administrative access to research networks, had learned the systems intimately. I can help, she said. I know how their networks are structured. I know the authentication protocols. If your people can provide the raw attack capability, I can guide them to the right targets. Over the next week, human hackers worked alongside Lysa, combining human aggression with her systematic knowledge. They prepared an attack that would not try subtlety. They would crash through security like a battering ram, overwhelming defenses with sheer processing power and sophisticated exploits. The attack launched at 8 p.m. Earth Standard Time. Coordinated strikes across the Federation's communications grid. The humans did not try subtle infiltration. They crashed through security, overwhelming defenses, and within 10 minutes they had control of every major public communications channel in the Federation. The evidence began broadcasting. Genetic facility footage showing Ravager specimens in containment tanks, already 3 feet long, growing rapidly. Authorization documents bearing council member seals. financial records showing payments to contractors, kill orders for researchers who had discovered pieces of the program. And at the center of it all, communications from Director Voruum coordinating the conspiracy, ordering assassinations, planning the deployment of controlled Ravagers to problem colonies. The broadcast lasted 3 hours, long enough for citizens across the Federation to record it, share it, verify it. The Federation erupted. Species that would have been targets for Ravager enforcement demanded answers. Protests broke out on the capital world. Council members implicated in the conspiracy were arrested by their own security forces, who refused to protect them once they understood what had been planned. But Director Voruum and 4 council members fled before they could be detained. They had prepared contingencies, a private station on the frontier, defended by mercenary forces, equipped with fast ships for further escape if necessary. And Voruum had one final contingency: a dead man's switch. Ravager embryos already developed to adolescent stage, stored in secure facilities on 3 populated worlds. If Voruum was killed, the embryos would be released. 3 worlds would burn. Human intelligence tracked Voruum to Station Tarsus-9, Sector 447, within 12 hours. Kovran called Axisar to his office. Voruum is at Station Tarsus-9. Private ownership, mercenary defense force of about 200. He's trying to arrange transport to non-Federation space. Axisar nodded. You want him alive? I want him to face justice. Real justice from the Federation species he was planning to terrorize, but he needs to survive to stand trial. And Axisar, our intelligence suggests he has a fail-safe. Ravager embryos ready to release if he's killed. We need to capture him and secure those release codes. Understood. My team can be ready in 4 hours. Axisar selected 20 operators for the mission. Human special forces, trained in hostile ship boarding and close-quarters combat. They took a fast courier vessel, modified for stealth operations. The approach to Station Tarsus-9 took 30 hours. The humans used every trick in their arsenal, passive sensors only, trajectory that mimicked debris, heat sinks to mask their engine signature. The mercenary defenders never detected them until it was too late. The assault began with targeted strikes against the station's sensor arrays and communications. The mercenaries found themselves blind and isolated. Human boarding teams breached through 3 airlocks simultaneously. The mercenaries were professionals, well-equipped and experienced, but they had never fought humans before. They had never experienced an enemy that could take hits that would incapacitate other species and keep fighting. The battle for the station lasted 47 minutes. The mercenaries surrendered when they realized half their force was dead or wounded and the humans were still advancing with methodical efficiency. Axisar found Voruum in the command center, frantically trying to wipe data cores. 2 of his co-conspirators were with him, looking terrified. Don't move, Axisar ordered. Hands visible, slowly. Voruum turned, his dermal chromatophores flashing panic yellow. You have no authority here, no jurisdiction. This isn't illegal. We're not here under Federation law, Axisar interrupted. We're here because you tried to kill someone under Earth's protection. 3 times. You sent assassins, you sent a fleet, you forced our hand. Voruum's hand moved toward a control panel. Axisar's rifle was already aimed at it. The dead man's switch. Don't. Voruum froze. You know about that. We know about everything. Your embryo storage facilities on Kalara 3, Threshold Station and Varus Colony. We know about the release protocols, and we know you're the only one with the deactivation codes. Voruum smiled, a Kalarian expression that looked wrong on his species' features. Then you can't kill me. You need me alive. That gives me leverage. It gives you a choice, Axisar said. You provide the deactivation codes, you face trial in a Federation court with actual due process. Or you refuse, we extract the codes from your data cores and you die here. But either way, those embryos are getting neutralized. Voruum's chromatophores flickered through several colors, biological indicators of rapidly shifting emotional states. He was calculating, weighing his chances. If I give you the codes, what guarantee do I have that Earth won't simply execute me? We don't execute prisoners, Axisar said. That's not who we are. You'll face trial, real trial, public. where every species you plan to terrorize gets to see exactly what you did. Voruum's shoulders slumped. He was an administrator, not a warrior. When faced with actual violence, his courage evaporated. He provided the codes. Axisar transmitted them immediately to Earth Command, who relayed them to Federation security forces at the 3 embryo storage sites. Within 20 minutes, confirmation came back. The embryos had been secured and neutralized. Voruum and his co-conspirators were placed in custody. Axisar contacted Kovran. Package secure. Embryos neutralized, heading home. But Kovran had other orders. Negative. The Reformed Council has formally requested we transfer the prisoners directly to them. They want to handle this publicly. Show their citizens they're serious about justice. Axisar looked at Voruum, who had gone very pale. Copy that. Adjusting course. The transfer happened 3 days later, broadcast across the Federation. Human ships delivered the prisoners to the new Council leadership, species who had taken power after the conspiracy's exposure, determined to restore legitimacy to their government. Over the next 2 months, the conspiracy collapsed completely. The trials were public, thorough, and damning. Independent journalists verified every piece of evidence. The Ravager specimens were destroyed under international observation. The secret facilities were dismantled. Voruum's trial concluded 8 months after his capture. He was found guilty on 47 counts of conspiracy, bioterrorism, and crimes against sapient species. The sentence was life imprisonment on a prison world, with no possibility of parole. During the trial, evidence showed that Voruum had authorized the assassination attempts on Lysa personally, had reviewed the kill orders, had approved the expenditure of Federation resources, had dismissed concerns about violating Earth's sovereignty. The judge, a Valorian magistrate, responded to Voruum's final statement with words that would be quoted across the Federation for years. One scientist's life was enough to expose your entire conspiracy. One scientist trusted in justice enough to risk everything to reveal the truth. And one planet honored that trust when no one else would. The galaxy has learned an important lesson from this case. Individuals matter. Truth matters. And the species that understands that best is humanity. 6 weeks after Voruum's arrest, the Reformed Council sent an envoy to Earth. Ambassador Kelly's Peon, a Valorian diplomat known for genuine integrity, met with Admiral Kovran in a formal setting with full diplomatic protocol. Admiral, on behalf of the Reformed Galactic Council, I come to offer our deepest apologies. The Federation wronged humanity 50 years ago. We wronged you again when we violated your sovereignty. And we wronged Dr. Corvaith when we allowed corruption to flourish in our institutions. Kovran listened without expression. Peon continued. We would like to extend a formal invitation for Earth to join the Galactic Federation. Full membership, with complete sovereignty and voting rights. No conditions, no restrictions on your military independence. We recognize that humanity has proven itself worthy of respect, and we hope to build a relationship based on mutual trust. Kovran was silent for a long moment. He looked at Lysa, who sat nearby as an observer. She had been working alongside human scientists for weeks now, sharing her knowledge of Federation technology and Xenobiology. She looked healthier than when she had arrived, the haunted look in her eyes replaced by something that resembled peace. We'll consider it, Kovran finally said. But understand this, Ambassador. We're not joining because we're afraid of you, and we're not joining because we need you. If we join, it will be because we decide it's worth our time, on our terms. We maintain full military independence. We maintain the right to grant asylum to anyone fleeing persecution, and we will never allow Federation law to override Earth law within our territory. Peon nodded immediately. Those terms are acceptable, more than acceptable. The Federation needs members who will stand up to corruption, not bow to it. Humanity has shown us what integrity looks like. We'll send our answer in 30 days, Kovran said. We need to consult with our governments. Earth isn't a unified world. We have 200 nations and they all get a say in decisions like this. Of course, we await your decision. After Peon left, Lysa approached Kovran. You're going to join, aren't you? Probably, Kovran admitted. But on our terms. The Federation needs to understand that humanity isn't going to be pushed around. We engage as equals or not at all." Lysa smiled, a genuine expression that transformed her delicate features. "I've studied 47 different species in my career. I've lived on dozens of worlds, but this is the first place that felt like home. You want to stay? If you'll have me. I'm a xenobiologist without a laboratory, a researcher without a government sponsor. But I know more about Federation technology and alien species than most of Earth's scientists combined. I could help you understand the galaxy. Help you prepare for whatever comes next." Kovran extended his hand, a human gesture of agreement that Lysa had learned. "You're welcome here, Dr. Corvaith. You're one of us now, we protect our own." She took his hand, her small fingers disappearing in his grip. "Thank you for everything, for not turning me away, for risking your people to defend me. I'll spend the rest of my life trying to repay that debt." "You already have," Kovran said. "You trusted us when you had no reason to. You showed us that the galaxy isn't just the people who tried to kill you. That's worth something." Earth's decision came 28 days later. After extensive debate, votes, and negotiation among its nations, humanity agreed to join the Galactic Federation. But the terms were clear: full military independence, the right to maintain their defensive perimeter, and absolute authority over asylum decisions within their territory. The Federation agreed to everything. They had learned that trying to force humanity to comply was a mistake they could not afford to repeat. The formal ceremony took place 3 months after Lysa's arrival. Earth's representatives stood before the Galactic Council, no longer as petitioners but as equals. The vote was unanimous. Humanity was welcomed into the Federation with full rights and recognition. But the real change was quieter, more profound. Species fleeing persecution, researchers escaping corrupt governments, refugees from conflicts across the galaxy, they began arriving at Earth's borders, asking for the protection that only humanity seemed willing to provide. Earth established a formal asylum program. Applications were reviewed carefully, but the underlying principle was clear. If you were fleeing genuine persecution, if you needed protection, Earth would consider your case. And if they accepted you, they would defend you with everything they had. Lysa became Earth's chief xenobiological advisor, helping humans navigate the complexities of galactic politics and alien biology. She worked alongside human scientists, amazed by their creativity and unconventional thinking. Humans approached problems differently than any species she had encountered. They were willing to try solutions that seemed absurd until they worked. She also became something unexpected: a symbol. The alien who had trusted humanity when no one else would, who had proven that Earth's isolation had been the galaxy's loss, not humanity's. Lieutenant Vex recovered from her injuries over 3 months. The missing fingers were replaced with cybernetic prosthetics that functioned better than the originals. She returned to duty with commendations for her actions against the Skaarn assassin, though she never talked about the fight. She preferred to let the story tell itself through the empty space in the station where the Skaarn had been vented. She and Lysa became friends, an unlikely pairing. The human warrior and the Valorian scientist, bonded by a moment when violence had been necessary to protect something worth protecting. 6 months after joining the Federation, Earth unveiled its new fleet doctrine. They would maintain defensive forces around their home system, but they would also deploy rapid response groups. Fast ships capable of reaching any part of Federation space within days. Their stated purpose was protecting Federation citizens and responding to emergencies. Their unstated purpose was clear to anyone paying attention. If you threatened the innocent, if you abused your power, if you thought you could act without consequences, humanity was watching, and they would respond. The galaxy adjusted to this new reality slowly. Earth was not the largest power in the Federation. They did not have the most resources or the biggest fleet, but they had something else: a reputation. When humans said they would protect you, they meant it. When they said they would stop you, they meant that too. 1 year after Lysa's arrival, Earth hosted its first Galactic Summit. Representatives from 200 Federation species gathered in New Geneva to discuss security, cooperation, and the future of galactic governance. Admiral Kovran gave the opening address, standing before the assembled delegates with the presence of someone who commanded respect rather than demanded it. 1 year ago, Dr. Lysa Corvaith crashed on our world, fleeing for her life. She asked for protection and we gave it. That decision brought us into conflict with forces that wanted to silence her, that wanted to maintain their corrupt grip on power. Today, those forces are in prison. The Federation has been reformed, and humanity has taken its place among you, not as inferiors seeking approval, but as equals demanding respect. He paused, letting his words carry weight. We are not the strongest species here. We are not the oldest or the wisest or the most technologically advanced. But we understand something that some of you forgot. Power is worthless if you don't use it to protect those who cannot protect themselves. Civilization is meaningless if it doesn't stand for something beyond its own survival. Earth will remain a member of this federation. We will honor our commitments. We will defend our allies. But we will also hold you accountable. We will call out corruption when we see it. We will offer asylum to those who flee persecution. And we will use our strength to ensure that what happened with the Ravagers never happens again. The applause that followed was genuine, though tinged with uncertainty. Humanity had proven itself formidable, but many species were still adjusting to the idea that the isolated Deathworlders were now a major power in galactic politics. Lysa stood on a balcony overlooking New Geneva, watching ships come and go from the spaceport. Some carried cargo, some carried diplomats, and some carried refugees, arriving with nothing but hope and the knowledge that Earth protected those who needed protection. She thought about the path that had brought her here, the discovery that had nearly killed her, the desperate flight across the galaxy, the crash landing on a world she had been taught to fear, and she thought about what she had found instead. A species that valued honor over convenience, that chose principle over politics, that understood strength was meaningless without purpose. A young human woman approached, holding a data pad. One of the researchers Lysa had been mentoring. Dr. Corvaith, we just received word. The asylum application from the Taraxis refugees, it's been approved. All 3,000 of them. They'll start arriving next week. Lysa smiled. The Taraxis were fleeing a civil war that had turned genocidal. Their neighboring species had refused asylum, fearing it would anger the Taraxis government. Earth had simply reviewed the evidence and made a decision. These people needed help, so they would receive it. Make sure we have adequate housing prepared, Lysa said, and medical teams. War refugees will need psychological support as well as physical care. Already being arranged. Admiral Kovran wants to meet with you tomorrow to discuss security protocols. I'll be there. The young woman left, and Lysa returned to watching the city. Somewhere out there, 3,000 Taraxis were preparing to begin new lives on a world that would protect them. And beyond them, countless others across the galaxy knew that if they needed sanctuary, there was one place that would answer their call. She had come to Earth expecting nothing more than a place to die with dignity. Instead, she had found a home, a purpose, and a species that reminded the galaxy what it meant to be civilized. She had come seeking sanctuary. She had found something better, hope. And across the stars, in 1,000 different languages, beings who faced persecution heard the same message, spread through whispers and official channels alike. If you have nowhere else to go, if you need protection from those who would destroy you, there is a place that will take you in. A death world whose people understand what it means to fight for what's right. Earth, where humanity had learned that the greatest strength was not the ability to destroy your enemies, but the willingness to protect those who could not protect themselves. The galaxy would never be the same.